So it's back to school time. And normally for a lot of parents, that would be a very exciting time of, separating from the kids that they've had all summer and finally getting a break and letting them go off to school, hang out with their friends and learn something. But obviously it's 2020, never expected. We have coronavirus. So now the kids are at home and they're learning at home and there's no end in sight. So I wanted to make a video of a few tips to kind of help parents through this transition and kind of find some solace in this big chaos that we're in right now. So for me, I've had the kind of luxury of having a high schooler who's had experience because of COVID with online learning. However, I also have a son who was or is going to be starting kindergarten, but obviously it's not going to be the normal first day kindergarten experience. So I want to take a little bit of a breather to say that fucking sucks. Okay. I was really excited to have kind of the moment of, sending him off to his first day of school with his little book pack, seeing him walk to his class, that one day that, parents enjoy with the tears flowing down my face of big boy steps and him being in the first day of school. And as I said, it fucking sucks that obviously that moment in time has been taken away. But that day will come. I will have a day of with him and his little book pack going to school. That's what I'm holding on to, that one day that's going to happen. But what I want to do now is still kind of celebrate that moment in 2020 way, of having a little bit of celebration at home of him moving on to kindergarten. So this little time is for those parents who are missing out on that experience of sending their kindergarten to school and not knowing what to do to celebrate. Do something at home. Do something to capture this moment of, I have a big kid now who's now in school, who's now learning. Do something at home to still celebrate that, because that's not just a celebration for your kid, that's a celebration for you too. This is a milestone for your kid and for parents. So I really want to emphasize on doing something at home to really take into account that moment and really just kind of celebrate this time. And hopefully down the road, we'll still get that experience of shipping them off to school and them having that in-school experience. So it's just on pause for now. It's not gone, it's just on pause. So kindergarten rant over. Now let's get into some tips about homeschooling. So my first tip is essential, and this is not just for homeschooling, this is also working from home tips. And I think I've said this before, I'm just going to say it again. You need to have work life or student life separate from home life, okay? Just as we talk about parents carry many hats, kids carry many hats too. They carry their kid hat and they carry their student hat. And you need to give them the space to kind of have a separation between home life and school life. That's because we're no longer in summertime. It's work mode and they need to know we're down to business. So having that kind of separate space is super important. So I know that for a lot of older kids, they want to do everything from their bed. Their bed is their safe space. It's their little island where they get to relax and enjoy. And they want to do everything from their bed, everything from the room. Okay, I get it. Beds are nice, they're comfy. But beds are moments of relaxing. Those are times to go to sleep. Those are times to hang out. Those are times to chill. It's not necessarily time to do work. Just like I would tell an adult, if you're working from home, don't work from your bed. Same thing I'm going to add for kids. Don't work from your bed. Have a designated space that's there for learning. That could be a desk in the room. That could be the dining room. That could be the couch with the little laptop thing. Whatever it is, make that your designated learning space, but it can't be your designated chill, relaxed sleep space. It has to be separate because we, again, need to switch hats and do something different and really get down and focus. So that's kind of part of tip one. This is part two of tip one. It's very confusing. Second thing is to have them get dressed. And I know that for a lot of parents, they're like, well, they're home. What's the point of having to get dressed? It's less laundry for me to do. I get it, completely understand. However, we don't want them to be in pajamas because it's, again, the same kind of mentality of pajamas means sleep, means chillaxing, means chill. You want them to get dressed and get ready for the day. I'm not saying for them to get ready for the Oscars. They don't have to be a three-piece suit, full ball gown. I'm not saying that, but just have them like be a little bit more just not in pajamas, t-shirt and pants, whatever it case may be. They can still be comfortable, but just not in pajamas. You still want them to kind of get a sense of structure, a sense of routine, and a sense of I'm not chilling anymore. It's not sleep time, it's work time. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but it's important to still kind of have that structure and routine, which is going to lead into my next tip for when they do go back to school. So the next tip being is having a structure and routine. Because you want them to not settle into this is going to be the homeschooling is going to be the rest of my life, because I'm sure not parents are not down for that. So you want them to still kind of have a little bit of structure and routine, so that hopefully when we do go back to in-person education, it's not that hard of a transition because they've already had the routine in place. So how do you set a structure and routine? Well, first step is to kind of figure out what school is requiring of students. That's going to depend district by district. It's also going to depend school by school. So sometimes teacher by teacher too. So it's a lot of little steps, but either way, figuring out what's required for them. Some teachers or schools are requiring live learning lessons. So obviously that's going to have a little bit more structure. They're going to have set times. Other teachers might have recorded presentations that they could do at their leisure as long as assignments are turned in, whatever the case may be. Finding out what's going to be the school structure first is the first step. So once you have that, then you can insert kind of what's going to work for the house, right? What time they need to get up in the morning, what time they need to be dressed by, making sure that they eat. Eating is important regardless. They need to have a breakfast, they need to have lunch, obviously dinner, and sometimes snacks in between. So making sure that they have time for that, and also making sure they have time for breaks. And I know that it's kind of like, why do they need to break? They're at home, but get them away from the screen, get them away from, the Zoom chats, Microsoft Meeting, give them some time to just like walk around and breathe. Because staring at a screen all day it sucks. So having them have a break is important, and having them have a little bit of fun in between the day is important too. So in that routine, make sure to have them have breaks, have a little fun, but also be on top of things. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but think about it. If they were in school, they'd have breaks between classes to walk in, engage with students, have a little fun. It's kind of just the same thing, just at home. So have them walk around and maybe engage with you or whoever, just to kind of get their mind, in a different place. If the school does not have a set schedule, if they're kind of more flexible with the virtual, like the recorded sessions, set a timer, so that they're at least, focusing on one class maybe for 90 minutes, which is mostly high school times. Set a timer. Once that timer goes off, they get however long of a break, and then they move on to the next class. So at least having them understand that they don't have to be focused on one class for the whole day, that they can break it apart. Important. Which I know, again, sounds very like rules, but understand that, you can adjust it and make it flexible. If things aren't working for you, kind of work it out. So it doesn't have to be one structure and done. It could be adjustable as, the school year goes on, whatever the case may be. So my next tip is to know your resources. And your first resource, obviously, is to reach out to the teachers. Teachers are going to be, the person you're going to go to really ask questions, kind of get a sense of what's going on. And that tip's really also going to be dependent on age range. Obviously, for kids who are elementary, middle school, the parents might be more engaging with the teachers than the kids would be. Explainable, because they're not necessarily fully independent learning. So parents might be a little bit more hands-on and involved, maybe more than teachers would like, but that's kind of where we're at. For high schoolers, I always advocate for teaching kids of that age group to really learn how to ask questions themselves and really kind of engage with their teachers if they're having problems. Obviously, they're also as a resource, but you want to kind of set them up for a future. If they go to college, they're going to have to advocate for themselves with professors too. So kind of helping them and educating them on how to ask their teachers questions, obviously during appropriate times, because understanding that teachers also have boundaries too, and kind of really how to ask for help. With that being said, I have a teenager, so this is a completely personal tip that I've seen. Work with your kids on how to structure an email. That is so important because oftentimes kids can be very to the point. They could be using the same like languages they use for text messaging. And, I read kids' text messages and I understand nothing of what they're saying. So help your high schooler understand how to format an email of like good morning, good afternoon, um, actual word spelling, engaging, and not just getting straight to the point like, I need this. You want them to at least be respectful of their teachers and understanding how to format an email or a message or whatever little technology thing that, they're using. So always helping them figure out how to communicate with teachers in a respectful way. I have to add that because that's super important. Okay, next tip. The next tip is to obviously have time to breathe, time for a little bit of patience, and kind of understanding that we are in this together. Okay, so that's going to require a lot more patience than we normally have with our kids, especially since we've been stuck with them for so long. But understand that this is a hard time for kids as well. They don't want to be home. They want to be out with their friends, having a good old time. So this is going to be a hard time for them too. So having a little bit of patience with them, they might not necessarily understand how the technology works. They might get a lot more frustrated. They might get a little more attitude than you like, but understanding that it's going to require a lot more patience from us than we normally want. So with that patience and with that frustration, understand that you might also need a break too. So if you need to take a 10 to 15-minute timeout to say, you know what, I need like an out for a little bit, take it. And that's okay. It's okay to get frustrated yourself. It's okay to get upset yourself. Take that time for yourself to take a deep breath and reset. Understand that that's okay. No one's going to be mad at you for it. If anything, everyone's going to understand. So understand when you also need to take a break. Understand when you see signs in your kids that need to take a break and advocate for that. If teachers need to, but also let the teachers know that, we need to take a little bit of a break. It's too much. I'm only hoping that teachers would understand. From what I've seen, teachers have been very reasonable during this time and they really want to help. Again, they're as much as in our corner as, you would probably think. So always reach out to them as an advocate if you feel like your kid needs a little bit of a break. That's what they're there for. Okay, with that, I always advocate for a reward system, especially with little kids who, again, this is all new to them. This is not what they kind of thought school would be like. Having a reward system to kind of say, hey, like, you're doing a good job, keep it up. It could be like a sticker, teachers do little gold stars. It could be that. It could be an extra treat for dessert. It could be whatever you want it to be. Having a reward system for kids is great. For little kids, they might need to be a little bit more close together because that's how they work. With older kids, the reward system can be a little bit more separated and apart, so it's not too overwhelming. Whatever the case may be, whatever works for your household, having a reward system is great. I think that's always helpful. So, if that's something that you can implement, go for it. Gold stars everywhere. That's all I'm saying. My last tip, because I feel like I've given a lot of tips, and again, if I miss anything, I always add it in my website, is to kind of make things fun and kind of really make things a little bit more approachable. So obviously, creating moments of fun, making sure they get out, have a little bit running around time. One of the things that's kind of lost with online schooling is kind of like the art aspects, PE aspect of it. So if you can implement that to make it a little bit more fun, that's great. I always say, if you can make the lessons a little bit more approachable so that kids can understand it better. I mean, you know your kid more than you probably think you do. So making it a little bit more, I guess, user friendly for them is always helpful. And this is what I mean. So teachers always have to stick to a particular set of curriculum. They have to teach things a particular way. I know things are a little bit more off the wall because of online schooling, so that might be a little bit different. But let's say, for example, they're teaching them math and your kid's having a hard time like figuring it out. If you use like real world applications that maybe they might get that's helpful. Here's an example. My son loves Pokemon. I don't know what it is about it, but he loves Pokemon. So maybe I might use Pokemon cards to help him teach math a little bit. Like your Pokemon attacks one and you lose this many health points. I'm totally like botching it, but how many health points would your Pokemon be left with? Whatever. He might get that and grasp that more because it's more of his interest, but it's the same lesson just taught in a way that's more engaging for him. I really hope that makes sense. So you could do that with your kids if you think that they're struggling and you want to kind of just tweak it a little bit so that they can maybe utilize the lesson in a way that they understand. Go ahead. My perspective is if they learn it, they learn it. Doesn't matter how, they learn it. Teachers might disagree, but I guess maybe I should say in my life. But either way, try it. So those are a few lessons that I'm going to be taking with homeschooling. Again, we're all in this together. It sucks. This is where we're at in 2020. I'm hoping homeschooling is not, the end all be all. I'm really hoping one day I'll get my little backpack kid in school one day. And, we're all in this together. Reach out to your resources, teachers, administration, friends, other parents, a therapist, your parents, whoever it is that you have at your resource. Connect with them in a way that's safe. And, understand that we're into this together. So I hope you guys have a great 2020, 2021 school year, however that looks for you, and really just be safe. Have a good one. Bye, guys.